1 point is all it took to end our almost 2-year streak at the Gabba. Unfortunately, it comes to an end at the hands of a club I'm not a big fan of. Egg, we've got a lot to unpack today. Let's put it that simply.
Yeah. Bloody oath. Yeah. Been a very big week. You could argue partially disastrous week. Long season, don't get me wrong, but goddamn, like,
it
Jesus.
Sucks. It fucking sucks, but that's the thing, dude. It's only round 0, so I mean, there's a lot of optimism in it, and fuck, that's all I've got to really say to open this one up. Let's just get into the show.
We're hot, we're mean, we're strong, we're a team, we're the very best team you've ever seen.
G'day guys, everyone. Welcome back to the main event, the opening round edition of the main event, covering our beloved Brisbane Lions. My name is Jack Wallace, and I'm joined here with Egg Footy. Egg, how are you doing after a nightmare of a weekend?
We used our one free skip for the year when I was in Perth a couple of weeks ago because we got some disruptions. I wish we saved it and used it now because fuck me.
Yeah, you messaged me after the game asking if we could cancel the recording, and honestly, I was just like, yep. Not in the mood, not the best mood to record today, but you know what? That's why we're here. We're riding the roller coaster of what it is to be a sports fan, and particularly a Brisbane Lions fan. Got a lot to unpack today. We're going to be going through, obviously, the Carlton game. Going to be touching on Coleman's unfortunate injury. Lachie Neale was also fined, so we'll get into that as well. More pleasant news, and Trent Cotchin joining the club in a leadership capacity. We're going to have Stu from the Flagmantle Podcast joining us to preview the Freo game next week. And just so much more. It's going to be an awesome show, guys, so definitely strap in. It's going to be a big one. But to start off, though, every sort of episode that we have on Spotify in particular has a feedback form at the end of it. And when people give us feedback on there, or you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, I'm going to read it out. And I had an interesting piece of feedback from the last episode that just says... And this is from Troy Sutherland, so thank you, Troy, for stopping by and leaving us a little review on there. Troy says, you fellas should watch the grand final back. It's really not that bad. They played a mammoth game, lots to be proud of, but maybe hit stop after the Danaher goal. Have you had a chance to watch the grand final back in full at all?
I have not. I have watched highlights, and I have no intention of watching the full replay. The only time I would stomach a full replay is if I watched it after we win a flag this year or next year or the year after that, whenever the fuck it happens. I can't. I don't know if I can bring myself to it now, especially after what's happened this weekend.
Yeah, it's still a really touchy topic for us Lions fans. I know a lot of people have made peace with it. I personally, I've made peace with it to a degree. I can't go back and just watch the game, but I've accepted the loss because it is one of the all-time great grand finals. But I might have to take Troy's word for it, particularly after, we win a grand final or something like that, just to make it right. But thank you for that one, Troy. And of course, definitely get onto Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, and we'll read it out on the show. But look, let's get into the nitty gritty of what happened on Friday night, mate. Obviously, went down to Carlton in round 0 in absolutely heartbreaking fashion. 12 goals, 13, 85 Brisbane to Carlton's 13 goals, 8 behinds, 86. That's a heartbreaker. That is a fucking heartbreaker.
It's there's two ways about it, man. It was shit. It was shit being there live for it. It was shit seeing all the hard work we did in the first half of the game go down the shitter. Yeah, we played some of the best football I've seen us play in a very long time, and followed up by some of the worst that I've ever seen us play in a long time. And it took me a while. I did not handle it well. Anybody who's in my Discord server will know that for a fact. I did not handle it well at all. I had random people coming at me on Twitter who I've never interacted or talked to before in my life coming at me over it. I had some dude with his kid in his profile picture, and him coming at me like, suck on that at Footy Egg, which actually cheered me up a lot, just like simply because I don't know who this guy is. I've never interacted with him before. His name doesn't look familiar. His face doesn't look familiar. And I've got this random fucking father with children coming at me after a Carlton loss, even though I've never provoked him. I've never said anything to him. And there's just the absurdity of that whole scenario just like cheered me up a bit. So like that was funny. And yeah, it was an interesting night for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough night. I mean, particularly for you being there in person, that would have been like so stressful, man. I find like when you're at footy games live, like, yeah, it's one thing watching it on TV. I mean, my heart was pounding. I was an anxious mess. I was feeling quite nauseous during the game, particularly in that last quarter. But when you're there in person, it is a whole different story and a whole different vibe. What was the feeling like in the stadium? Like, particularly, actually compare it from like the first half, particularly the first quarter, to when you were walking out.
When we were up like 46 points, like it was electric, you know, it was awesome. And then when we left at full time, it felt like a funeral. You know, it's not very I don't think it's very healthy for the human body to experience back to back being at the grand final in person and being at opening round in person. I don't think mentally, physically, I'm designed to facilitate that. Because that was fucking brutal.
Oh, I can imagine, dude. Like I was just sat here at home, just in Discord with a couple of mates, with a Geelong supporter and a Giants supporter, and they were having a great fucking time. You know, they thought it was one of the best games I've ever fucking watched. Whereas for us, it was like, you know, I kept having to deafen myself in Discord. So those that don't use Discord or don't know, deafening yourself just mutes you and mutes the fucking mutes the call as well, so you can't hear what people are saying in the call, because it was getting pretty brutal, man. And you know, you said something a couple of weeks ago when we were sort of going into the season about how the weight of expectation and pressure has changed, and I think this was the first example of the sort of pressure and expectation our club now has to face on a weekly basis. No longer can we go into games and it be like, well, if we lose, at least we put in an effort. I mean, this has been the case for a few years now, but it really is, it's really making itself obvious, because this is the first season, I think, you know, not just the media, but the league, and even just general supporters, like they all are like putting all their eggs on either the Lions basket or the Magpies basket for this year. And to be one of those two teams that are the team to beat, that makes games like this so gut-wrenching and so like just tough to watch. Because, you know, like not only is, you know, watching footy, it's so emotional, but like, I guess worrying about the reaction and the messages you're going to receive and like all this sort of shit after the fact, like, yeah, it's a gut punch losing a footy game and seeing your club lose like that, but it's a bigger gut punch having everyone, man and their dog, fucking have to chime in and, you know, say what they're going to say. But I mean, that comes with being a supporter, and that comes with being a fan of footy, particularly on the internet. I mean, for you as well, dude, like you're becoming somewhat of a public figure in the AFL community online, and I can't imagine how that feels for you, dude. Like, that's unbelievable. What happened in your Discord? Like, was it just people like fucking just tagging you and shit and just giving you all the shit?
There was a few particular individuals, Carlton supporters. I have like a system in my Discord where if you react to with a certain emoji to a message, you get assigned a footy club. And you had people with like Carlton logos next to their names, giving me some grief, writing some unfortunate messages. I wrote back, because this happened right after the final siren, literally as I'm leaving the ground. I wrote back some even more unfortunate messages. I ended up kicking people, not banning them, but kicking them from the Discord. I ended up deleting a whole channel in the Discord because people were my mates were spamming gifs or gifs, however you want to fucking pronounce it. I don't really care.
Yeah.
They're doing it as a joke. They're not doing it to hurt me, but at the same time, like I'm in this car pondering what I've just witnessed, and all I can hear from my phone is the fucking Discord sound. They were all in one of the voice chats in the server. Like we have voice channels in the server, and I jumped in on my phone and pretty much just verbally abused them, and I feel bad about that, because like I was pretty fucking explicit in my wording. I told them, a lot of F words. and then they didn't stop, so I just deleted the whole thing altogether.
Yeah.
And when they realized that, like, why I was upset, Kitty Coleman's injury, and we'll get into that later, they realized, oh shit, okay, fair enough. And then they slowed down. And then, strictly speaking, because I'm at the moment, I guess I'm kind of well liked. I didn't get a whole lot of people I didn't get a whole lot of people getting stuck into me about it in DMs and publicly. There was that one guy I talked about before, the fucking grown-ass 30-year-old man.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, it wasn't that bad, actually. I had another alleged creator come at me via YouTube community post.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he happens to be a Richmond supporter. He traveled from where he lives to the Gold Coast, which is about a 6-hour drive. I have family near where he lives, so I know the area well. Puts a thing up on his community post saying, "Oh, ready to watch the Tigers fucking destroy Dimmer," and then they go 74-6 in the second quarter. So yeah, there is justice in this world.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, karma is a thing, and I strongly believe in it. I mean, if there's one thing, right? And I was gonna say this for later in the show. We talk about, like, the future of opening round, but I just want to point out, and this is fucking hilarious to me. I know a couple of Collingwood supporters who drove up for the Giants game from Melbourne, so that's an 8-hour drive, and they were so shitty they ended up driving back this morning. And I'm just thinking, fuck you. That's that whole experience, that whole 24 hours you've, like, just spent, you know, the 8 hours driving up, getting to the game, the 8 hours driving back. That's karma. And they're basically saying, why the fuck did we drive all the way up to this shithole if Collingwood aren't going to show up anyway? It's just like, well, eat shit, dickhead. Eat shit. Yeah, karma exists, dude. But yeah, it's a tough one, man, because, like, footy is so emotional. I mean, this is the thing. Like, I'm a massive basketball fan. I love the Phoenix Suns. Not as much as the Brisbane Lions, but, like, when footy season is not on, like, I am all in on my Phoenix Suns. And like, nothing hits like the stress of watching footy. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, I'm sure you experienced it recently with the Detroit Lions. I don't know if I know you stress your whole off about it, but I don't know, like, the stress when it comes to watching our beloved Brisbane Lions, like, that's a fucking whole nother level. And I sort of forgot about how stressful it is in the last 6 months. And watching that game was insane. You know, like, the first quarter, I, like, you know, 7 goals to fucking what, like 1 or 2 goals. Like, at quarter time, I was like, fuck, this is money. Like, we're looking so good this year. Like, this is everything we expected and then some. Like, it was sort of like, I felt like a really big moment of validation. Like, holy shit, like, everyone's had every right to, you know, push us and have these expectations on us because we are that good. And then the second half of the second quarter starts, and that whole third quarter, I spoke a lot about some of our bad habits from the previous seasons, and I was wrong in saying that a lot of those have been fixed and sorted out, because a lot of those reared their fucking ugly heads again, which was not a fun time. But to focus on some of the positives to start off, I mean, that opening Hugh McCluggage goal was fucking incredible. Hugh McCluggage has been known for a very long time to not be the greatest set shot at goal, but then he pulls that one out. I mean, you got the best angle of it. You got a video of it. So how was that?
It was
goal
awesome,
live,
man. Yeah. I put it on my story. I didn't expect him to kick it. I was expecting him to, like, center it in the goal square or some shit like that, but he backed himself in and he kicked it, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
On that point, you said, watching when we were up, like, a lot, like, we are that good. And I think that, like, I agree with that to a certain extent. Like, we are that good. We are capable of playing that style of footy. And that's very exciting to me. And I think what happened was pretty shit, but I'm not too particularly concerned about it going into the rest of the year. Like, if you look at last year against Port Adelaide and look what happened the rest of the year, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a long fucking footy season. And, like, even though we've been notoriously shit in round 1 or opening round, whatever you want to call it, a lot can happen, you know, like, and it's way too fucking early to, like, be basically abandoning hope, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like a couple of years ago when we choked a 40-point lead to Richmond at the G, and it was like round 20, and it's like that this is like when we're supposed to be hitting our peak as a footy club, and we're producing that, and it's like, okay, fuck, alarm bells. Whereas, like, now, it's just disappointing because like we could have had a great start to the season, and we squandered it partially. And I mean, like, let me preface what I'm about to say by saying this: 99% of the blame goes towards us. The rest of the blame goes towards Kitty Coleman's injury in the second half. Fucking those umpires, just some shit house luck. And when shit's hitting the fan and like you're looking for a lucky break, those you notice those things. And again, not to take anything away from Carlton, but like there were a few times in that game, like fuck that, like we were a bit stiff, you know. And we'll talk. I don't want to derail shit, but like I think Kitty Coleman's injury was the turning point for us. Like we did it's looking at like everybody's reactions on social media, like the players and stuff, like it seems to have had like an effect because he's so well liked, he's so well respected, he's so loved by all the other players. I think and you can see an ACL from a mile away, especially when you're a club like us who's had like more than you can shake a stick at, you know. But yeah, like there's a number of things that went wrong, and like I'm not too particularly concerned about like habits and stuff like that. I would like to see where we are, like round 4, round 5, round 6, give or take. Then let's analyze it a bit more. Let's look at habits and stuff like that. Right now, I'm not too concerned. I'm just disappointed about the whole scenario. Yeah,
it's probably the best way to sort of look at it and put it. I mean, you sent me some pretty sobering messages on, I think it was Friday night or something like that, or Saturday whenever we spoke after the game, and it was sort of just like put a lot of things into perspective. I can be a very overreactive fan at times, not in the fact of like, you know, getting angry and fucking saying sack fags and all this shit. I mean, at the end of the first quarter of the prelim final, I was a bit like that, but that's a whole different fucking conversation. It was a very emotional game in that regard, but at the same time, I've got to remember, it is round 0. It is fucking... This game took place on the 8th of March, right? Today's the 10th of March. When it's dropped, it'll be the 11th, but we got to remember where we are in the season. We're nowhere near September. There is a lot of time still to be played out, and not to mention as well, like, and we'll talk more on Kitty shortly, but just because Kitty Coleman goes down doesn't mean we're screwed. We seem to forget that one of our biggest pluses as a club at the moment is our depth. I understand that Kitty Coleman isn't someone that can just be replaced, but there are plenty of guys who will grab that opportunity by the balls and, you know, step up. I'm confident like this is probably a good time. Well, it's not a good time for Duday, but he will probably slide right into the back line and hopefully be able to play that role pretty well. And we've also got Connor McKenna coming back into the side probably on Sunday next week. So it's not all doom and gloom down in the back line. We've still got Jack Payne and Harris Andrews. We're just going to be without Kitty for probably the season at this point, which is fucking devastating, dude, because this is going to be his breakout season. He was probably a chance for an All-Australian. He was going to go insane this season, dude. Like, if we've seen how he's been trending, it is, you know, he's one of the champagne players of the league that he's about to turn into. So it's really, really heartbreaking to see that happen. We will dive more into that very, very shortly, but we'll just talk about the rest of the game here because there's a lot to unpack in this one, man. It's tough. Dude.
I want to mention briefly what you said about being a passionate supporter. I'm the exact same, and I do remember what you mean in regards to what I sent you on Friday or Saturday. I tend to be consumed by AFL to a certain degree, and that's part of like my content creation. That's what I want to do for part of my career. I get that, but I there have been times where I've let losses affect me too much. The grand final was an obvious one. Last year when we lost that game against Hawthorn at the G, I was so fucking devastated by that shit. I had to lock myself in this room and play NBA 2K for an entire weekend, and that happened this weekend as well to a certain degree. Yesterday after mowing my lawn, I was just in here playing the new WWE game that came out last week.
Quick sidebar. And how fucking good is that game?
It's fun. You can throw shit at people's heads. It's very fun.
It's really good. I want to talk about that in a moment. Yeah, continue what you were saying.
As I was saying, and like I came to the realization when at about 3/4 time, I stepped out to look at my phone, look through Facebook and stuff because I was kind of anxious. You know, like I'm looking for distractions, and then I see on Reddit r/Brisbane there was a story about this woman in Edward Street that was killed when she got pinned between a bus and a building when the bus mounted the curb.
Yeah.
And that's near where my mother works, and that could have very easily have been her potentially. And that really struck a chord with me, and that really devastated me, and that put a lot of things into perspective, as well as the story regarding Samantha Murphy, how she got killed by a AFL player's son in Ballarat. She was out running, just going for a run, and again, my mother, that could have been my mum, you know, like she's similar looking to Samantha Murphy, and it could have been her when she's out walking our dog at some point. Like it puts things into perspective, and it kind of opened my eyes a bit in the moment. Like, it's just a game, you know, like the season ends, that's your opportunity to like live life and fucking do shit that you can't do during the winter, you know? Like, it's if fucking the Lions lose, I'm still here, I'm still happy. If the Lions win, awesome, but like, it doesn't make my life any better or worse. Like, I'm really trying to make a considered effort from here on out to try and like enjoy the highs and brush off the lows, because I get too wound up in the lows, and you don't know when this high point for Brisbane's gonna continue, like gonna stop, and we end up a shit team again. So like, and I'll probably, and when that happens, I'll probably be ruining myself thinking, fuck, I wish I enjoyed it a bit more. There's that line in the Office where old mate says, I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you actually leave them. You know, and that's exactly what I'm trying to like, just enjoy the shit while it lasts, you know? Like, this is a fruitful period that we would hope and pray for in 2013, 2014, 10 years ago. I remember being so hyped when Lepage came on as coach, and we got all these players in the draft 2014. We're going to have a great year. We're going to have a stellar year. It's going to be mad. And then first round, we fucking shat ourselves, and I was so upset, so disappointed, because it was the same old. And 10 years later, we're coming off a grand final, one kick away from a premiership, and we lose to another very good team by a point. So, you know, it's perspective. Like, we're still in a very good position, and like, the sky's not fucking falling, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about perspective at the end of the day. I mean, you just fucking hit the nail on the head, dude. It's something I've really been thinking about for a long time as well. Why am I getting so caught up emotionally, and you know, like putting my life on hold? You know, for example, with the grand final loss, didn't speak to anyone for like 2 to 3 or even 4 days. Like, I just sort of put life on hold. At the end of the day, it's fucking sport, dude. It's just a game. And it's so true, because, you know, so many people get so caught up in it, and people like argue with their friends and their family, and like blow people up on social media over a game. And it's just like, at the end of the day, man, like, we're all just footy fans. We all just love this great sport, you know, the greatest sport in the fucking world. It's really important that not just us as well, you know, you and me, but everyone else listening to this, and you know, everyone in the AFL community, just remember, it's just a game. We don't need to be and we rambled on about the toxicity in the online community last week, and that only just that's been stepped up another level, I've found, since footy's been back. I mean, that might be just perspective, because, you know, we haven't had footy for 6 months and stuff like that, but it's just rampant, and people need to realize, again, it's just footy. I see people in the comments just attacking each other for like their personal things they post on their Instagrams, for example. Like, I might see someone's got their profile in public, and then they post a hot take or like just their opinion in the comments, and bang, like there's their family getting attacked, and how they look is getting attacked. And it's just like, guys, like, this is, attack their shitty team. Don't attack the individual who's posting the comment. Just attack the team they support or something, man. Like, it's all footy banter, but people take it a bit too seriously. We're probably part of that, taking it too seriously. I mean, I don't go attack people for the club, for their personal life. I attack them for the club they support, as a joke or as a bit of banter. So it's just, you know, life is bigger than footy. That's what I got to say on that one. It's important we sort of just enjoy it while it lasts, especially, you know, as you said, we don't know how long the team's going to be up for. Yes, we've got a young list. Yes, we've got a bit of depth. And the future does look bright, but that can all flick at a second. I mean, Sydney have been looking pretty good for a few years, and look at their season in 2020. Just the start of their season up, they lost the grand final, man. Like, they were down and out by the looks of it, you know. Like, And they should have been up there last year, man. They were by the end, but fuck, it was a long road back for them. And it can just show you like how, how quick your fortunes can change in this wonderful world of Aussie rules footy. It's insane. And again, we just got to enjoy this sort of thing. I mean, this margin could have been much bigger than 1 point. The boys reacted quite well in the fourth quarter to a degree. It just could have been so much worse. And I think I've had a really hard time trying to process that because to me, it's just like, fuck, 1 point loss. We're better than this, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, dude, it's round zero. It's a long season. You hit the nail on the head the other day when you sent me that message because, I was down and out. Like I was pretty much saying to some of my friends that this ACL to Kitty Coleman, man, that's probably fucked our season. But a few days later, maybe not. I thought last year Will Ashcroft going down kind of fucked our season, but I don't mean this to go the wrong way, but and I hate saying this because Will Ashcroft is one of my favourite players on the team. I barely noticed he's not there, and I'm hoping for the same thing with Kitty Coleman, which, sort of brings the point like, fuck, when Will Ashcroft comes back in, and I barely noticed he's not there. When he comes back in and brings, his style of play back into the game and, what he can bring to the table, fuck, that's Hollywood for us, we've only got more strength coming into the side, so we should be okay. It's a tough pill to swallow knowing Kitty Coleman's gone down with an ACL, and it is probably out for the season, but it is what it is. This is what happens in footy, and a lot of other clubs are going through the same shit, man. Like every club goes through. I mean, Carlton just lost Sam Doherty for the season. Huge loss to Carlton, man. Huge loss. That's a heartbreaker. 2 ACLs in one game. Fuck.
I want to touch on what you just said. Like, you don't notice when Will Ashcroft is gone, but you'll fucking notice when he comes back.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Excuse me, and that doesn't speak to him as a player. That speaks to us as a club.
Yep, absolutely.
Excuse me, with acid reflux.
Yeah.
That speaks to how we rebound as a club. And I was the exact same as you. I felt the same way when Ashcroft went down. I'm like, that's it, season's over. Flag lines 2024, and then like I felt those same thoughts creeping in when Kitty Coleman, when the news first broke that Kitty Coleman's done his ACL. Like flag lines 2025. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But like, we have so much more time going into finals now than we did with Will Ashcroft to readjust. And I think we won't notice Kitty Coleman not being there, but we will notice when he comes back. And the same thing with Ashcroft, and the same thing with maybe even Duday.
Yeah.
Thank fuck we picked up Tom Duday in this recent trade period, because like now we've got McKenna and Duday coming back into that back line, who did pretty, like third quarter's the third quarter, but up until like half time, they only scored like 20 points. And that's a team that had us by 30-0 in the first quarter of the prelim last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they did well. And like, even though the midfield kind of shat itself in the third quarter, they still did, they did okay,
Yeah. Yeah. It was just a weird game, man. Like top to bottom, just a strange game. Like, I mean, yeah, the first quarter was just Hollywood footy. Like, you can't get fucking better than that. Like, that is probably a top 5 quarter I've seen us play of all time. Like, it was unbelievable. And I guess just maybe the perspective of how good of a quarter that was, and you can sort of compare it to the second and third quarter. Like, how much of a difference really was it from our usual selves, Like, are Carlton really... in your eyes, do you think after that game, Carlton are the real deal, or do you think it's still too early to tell? Because I'm in the boat that it's still too early to tell.
I think given what they did last year and what they did this previous game, they absolutely are the real deal. I think that quarter and a bit of football that we played was the best that I've seen us play ever, and that's very exciting to me that we're capable of like that next level of good footy.
Yeah,
that very excites me. In terms of the margin, it's about what I expect. I expected a close one going into this. I did not expect a walk in the park. I was very pleasantly surprised when we went up by like 40-something points. And like, we knew Carlton were going to bring it, like anybody suggesting this was going to be a cakewalk is a fool. Like, if you told me last week we were going to lose to Carlton by 1 point, whatever, like it'd suck, but like, I get it, Carlton's a good team. The manner in which it happened stung, but like, I'm not surprised at the thought of Carlton getting up, because like they're a good football team and they're capable of a lot.
Yeah.
And I was pretty confident, but also quietly nervous. going into this game. And just like the flow of the game was kind of weird. And Carlton shat themselves for a bit, and then like we shat ourselves for a bit. Whereas like if it was a more even contest, like I think it would be a bit more reflective of how we both played. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that's why it's really hard to judge. But that being said, it's sort of like in the third quarter, a lot of that was genuinely unacceptable football, especially from a team that is being, touted by not just the media, but the whole league in general. I mean, look, we wouldn't be getting the messages we do if we weren't good. You know what I mean? Like when we were shit and we'd lose a game, people didn't blink an eye at me personally. Like I never used to receive messages when we lost. Even when we lost to Adelaide by fuck knows how much in 2016, the game that I'm talking about, it's sort of just like, I didn't receive any messages. I didn't cop anything. It was just tough loss. Yeah. And we just moved on. And I guess it's just it's a lot of pressure, man. It's a lot of pressure. And I really hope the club, the players themselves aren't really, like, I hope they're not feeling the heat too much as well now that they've got this big expectation on, because they have been playing with these expectations for a few years. But I think this year that expectation is a lot more clear, and there's a lot of predictions about how we do this season, and a lot of it is in our favour. There was a 7 AFL, or it was like a Footy on 9 or something like that. They posted their predictions, like all these guys. It might even been SEN. And everyone had us winning the flag except for one guy who had Collingwood winning the flag. But all of them tipped us to be playing in the grand final. And I really hope it's like I hope the players aren't feeling that too much. But yeah, dude, it's a hard one. And I guess it being round 0, thank fuck it's round 0. Because look, dude, long season, lot to work on, a lot to react to. But that being said, still unacceptable footy, but I'm hoping that they can get it out of their system earlier rather than later. We look at GWS from last year. They were 4-12 in the first 16 games of the season, and then look at them. They fucking made a prelim and took it to the Pies in that prelim, man. Like anything can happen in today's AFL. The league it's up for grabs, man. We happen to be at the forefront of who's we happen to be in the box seat of who can be able to take it. But, it is genuinely anyone's flag this year, except for maybe North, Freo and West Coast. But everyone else, it's sort of like, fuck, this is fair game. I feel like I'm going to regret to live including Freo in that little comment there. Fuck. God damn it. Yeah, man. We'll move on to Kitty real quick though, because we'll get into that properly, man. It was so fucking heartbreaking. I know we're sort of going to end up reiterating some of the points we just made, but it's sort of like I really want to give Kitty his time here, because he's one of our. Him and Will Ashcroft, dude. Like they're my probably 2 favorite players on our list. Both consistent, both really young. They're the future of our club. You got to get behind them early on, and I guess just seeing him go down like that, like at first it didn't look all that bad on TV. Like, yeah, his knee sort of bent around. I was like, oh yeah, like hopefully a hyperextension, probably out 4 or 5 weeks. That sucks. Really sucks. But, it is what it is. And then, the news comes out after the game that it's an ACL. And I was just like, well, fuck. That sucks. Like that hurts real bad. And to be honest with you, we lost round 0. I can accept an L, but losing Kitty Coleman, like that's fucking heartbreaking, dude. That sucks way more than the loss. If anything, like that's almost rivaling how bad I felt after the grand final. Nothing will ever come close to that. But that's this one hurts, dude. How are you feeling about obviously all this to do with Kitty Coleman? I mean, you mentioned as well, like thank God we got Tum Day when we did. But God, I'm almost lost for words here. I'm sort of just running in circles on my words right now, and I don't really know how to put into words of perspective how I'm really feeling about it. I'm trying not to ring the alarm bell, but God, man, that's a real big kick to the dick. We've got to be optimistic about it too, though.
I've told this story before. I had the pleasure of meeting Kitty Coleman briefly after the grand final, and the affection that he showed myself and my mum, and the maturity and professionalism he displayed after such a heartbreaking moment in his life really impressed me and really stuck to me. And I think going through that with a smile says a lot about his character and his tenacity. And I think we'll see the same thing in regards to this injury. He'll, as they say, fug it out. And come back in 2025. He's still very young, so he's got all the time in the world to win all Australian Blazers and shit like that. And maybe towards the twilight of his career, push us to a flag, whether it's flag number 4 or flag number 5 is immaterial. But he has a lot of footy to play. I think. How old is he? Let me.
Yeah, I actually don't know how old he is. I know I know when I look back on like some photos of like the 2022 season, he looks so damn young. You know what I mean?
He's 23. He's 1 year older than me. I'm 22. Well, I'm 23 this year actually. He's 24 this year. So that's a lifetime. That's like another 10 years of footy, you know?
Yeah. So absolutely.
This isn't like he still has a footy career after this. He still has a lot to give to this footy club and a lot to achieve, you know?
Yeah.
And same with Ashcroft as well. Like he's still a baby. Like he has his whole career ahead of him, as does Coleman to a certain extent. And he strikes me as a very mature, professional, tenacious man. And I think his recovery from this ACL will reflect that. Yeah. For sure. I think it definitely, in regards to what happened on the night, I didn't notice it myself. I didn't even know it happened at all until I read something might have happened to Coleman after the fact at like halftime or whatever. But it definitely had a mental effect on us, and I think it contributed as to why the momentum changed and the game changed. Like the players saw Coleman go down with an ACL. They know probably in that moment he's done an ACL. And they went into their shelves. They were fucking shelves, for fuck's sake. They went into their shells, you know, and they were rightfully devastated. And I think that helped Carlton get back in the game and help start the comeback. So, you know, if Coleman, with a bit more luck, like maybe this game turns out completely different. Who knows?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fucking tragic. And Doherty's ACL is tragic as well. You know, he played well. He played good footy for us. He served us well, and he fucked off to Carlton, but that's his prerogative, you know. And my heart breaks for him, especially this is like ACL number 3 or some shit like that.
Yeah,
so like
third one.
That's getting towards like the danger zone in terms of ACL injuries. So yeah, my heart breaks for them both, and yeah, that's pretty much nothing else to say about that, man. Like it's fucked, but we can cover him. And like we said about Ashcroft, you won't notice him gone, but you'll notice when he's back.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I've sort of been able to make myself feel better about it as well, and sort of just be able to accept that we have to move on without Kitty Coleman in our campaign to this for the 2024 flag, man. It's a tough pill to swallow. It's a big one, but unfortunately, you know what? We just got to pick ourselves up and move. And I hope the club, you know, really feels the same way. You know, they've got a big test ahead of them this weekend against Fremantle. Obviously, we will be joined by Stu from the Flagmantle Podcast very shortly to talk all more about that and unpack that once we're done here with this Carlton game. Moving on to another story, though, that came out of this game. This one really surprised me, but at the same time, as soon as I saw it happen, I was just like, yeah, like this is probably going to be the case. So for those that didn't see, Lachie Neale got in a little scuffle with George Hewett, and pretty funny, but not so funny at the same time. I mean, it was sort of like, I don't even know why the fuck that would be funny, but I guess it was just kind of out of character for Neale. Everyone sort of paints Neale like he's this grub player, but people don't realize like Neale's one of the more classier players of the game, and he's you know, he won't go out of his way to start, you know, putting other players down and putting his hands on them without reason. And I think in this instance he had a bit of a reason to do so. So George Hewett, obviously him and Neale were sort of just in a little bit of a contest, got a bit physical. George Hewett chipped him on the chin. Lachie Neale turns around and just chipped him in, well, pretty much gut punched him. And yeah, they both received fines here. If I can get the actual figures up, though, I think they were both fined like something like $2,500 or something like that, both of them. No suspensions laid, though. That is the plus coming out of this. And I think, to be honest, the correct decision by the tribunal or the match review officer, whatever they call them. How do you feel about this one? Do you think this was the right decision to make?
Holy shit, can you imagine if we had a Coleman ACL and a Neale suspension coming out of that? Holy fuck.
I'm so glad we're not talking about that today.
Yeah, like I think it's right, absolutely. Like a suspension for either of them, like Hewett or Neale, would have been an absolute farce. I don't think that speaks to Neale's character at all. I think very out of character. And again, he did get whacked in the chin / the throat.
Yeah.
Like moments before. So, he did have a bit of a reason to a certain degree. I wish one of our captains would show a bit more restraint, but at the same time, I don't blame him particularly.
Yeah.
You got to stand up for yourself. You can't let yourself get pushed around. And yeah, like he doesn't have a lot to answer for, I don't think. Neither does Hewett to a certain extent, because like I don't think he meant to punch him in the throat or the chin, whatever he made contact with. Shit happens, but yeah, just nothing in it. Just give him a fine, say, hey, be more careful next time, and then move on.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, you sort of just said it perfectly. It doesn't reflect on Neale's character, and even then, I'm sure Hewett didn't try to punch him in the face or in the chin or throat, wherever. It was sort of just heat of the moment. Neale was moving around. Hewett's trying to give him a bit of biff back, and it just happened to nail him there. I'm stoked with the result that came out of that. I don't think Hewett or Neale deserved suspensions at all. So I think the right decision was made here. And just put a bow on it. Neale knows for next time. Maybe just keep a bit more of a lid on, because you're meant to be the captain and a leader. But at the same time, I totally get it. You're in the heat of the moment. It's a really intense game at that stage. If I look at the score at that point, I think it had it in like the thumbnail of the fucking the article I was reading about it. Yeah, dude, it was a 1-point game with 14 seconds left in the third. So, it is what it is. And I think the MRO made the right call here. Just slap him on the wrist with a fine and, move on, nip it in the bud. We'll move on quickly to some nicer news before we have a chat with Stu from the Flagmantle Potty. Now, Trent Cotchin has joined the Lions in a leadership capacity here. Now, what this means for the club, I'm not too sure. Probably just mentoring our leadership group a bit, and sort of, because I noticed one thing about our leadership group was a lot of them are like the younger players that have never really been in a leadership group before. Like, Cam Rayner was amongst them. Brandon Starcevich making his debut in the leadership group. So, dude, and Trent Cotchin, man, triple premiership captain. How do you like this news? I know you were pretty excited when you told me the other day.
I'm very keen on it. I think it's a great thing for us, especially like if we want to take that next step. Speaking on the new inclusions to the leadership group, I think that's just us future-proofing our playing group, giving our younger players some experience in that capacity. From Trent Cotchin's perspective, this might just be him testing the waters, seeing if he likes coaching, and then from there he can move on to being an assistant coach, whether that's at Brisbane or he goes and joins Dimmer down in the Gold Coast. Is immaterial, but right now I think it's exactly what we need to help us take the next step.
Yeah, there's like a photo of him that we posted on the lions.com.au website, where it's just it's Trenton, it's Cotchin and Fag standing there at open training, it looks like, and Cotch is in his maroon fucking media polo, man. Like, that's a good sight. I like that sight.
It right is there. For sure.
Beautiful. It's beautiful stuff. It looks good in maroon. I just wish it would have been cool if he got to, come over and play for us for a few seasons. But hey, man, like, unrealistic, and he had a great career at the Tigers. But I just wanted to bring that one up real quickly because that's a lot of fun, man. That's a really cool addition to the club, and I hope a lot of awesome things come from that. Because, yeah, man, the club's in a really, really good place right now. And just, if the more good things we can add, it's even better. We are. As we sort of harped on before, we're not going to be at this stage forever. I'm hoping it'll be for a few more seasons, given how young our list is and our depth. But at the same time, you got to realize guys like Neale, Cameron, Big Joey Danaher, they're not getting any younger. Dane Zorko too. He's in the twilight of his career now. Sort of just whatever we can do to sort of extend this period of good footy and success, I'm all for. And I think Trent Cotchin's going to make a fantastic addition to the club. Especially in that behind the scenes role. Let's look towards Freo. I think I don't want to think about this Carlton game anymore. It is what it is. We lost by a point in opening round. We lost by 56 last year to Port in round one. And look, we made it to the grand final. So we won't beat this drum too much more. We weren't too happy with it, but it is what it is. Plenty of things to be optimistic about, and everything that I was angry about and out for blood for, I'm over it now. Because I was like initially, if we were to record this podcast like as a live post game show on Friday night, I think a lot of this would have been much, much different in terms of the vibe. I think we would have been, lighting everything on fire. Whereas, a couple days later and sleep on it a little bit and, have a chat with some mates to give you some perspective and everything on the loss is sort of like, it's not all doom and gloom yet, guys. We've got a lot to look forward to this year. We've got Will Ashcroft coming back soon. Duday is going to fill that spot very soon, probably in the next few weeks. And we've got Levi Ashcroft to look forward to at the end of the season, man. Like, there's so much to look forward to. Of course, we'll touch more on Levi as the season goes on. I think maybe we can do a little watch on him. Granted, I assume at this stage in March that we will be getting him in father and son. I don't think... he's already training with the club. He, knows the boys very well. He wants to play with his brother. And there was even a, there was that show that they did about the... I think it was like the 2022 draft class. It was on something. I think it might have been KO. It was like, it's a show very similar to Show Me the Money, but it was about it's called The Kids. It was a little documentary. And Will Ashcroft was on there. He's one of the featured rookies. Sorry to derail wherever we're going here, but I thought this was kind of cool to bring up. It was sort of just, they had a little scene in there where Levi and Will were just throwing just the gridiron ball back and forth between each other. And they were just talking about, their futures. It was before Will committed to the Lions, and the whole thing was about him making his decision to commit to the Lions. And Levi said something that has stuck with me ever since I watched this. Levi was like, well, you can go forge your career elsewhere and go to another club, or you can come join me at the Lions. And I was just like, my man, my fucking man. So I'm very excited for Levi, especially after the things I've heard. Have you seen much of Levi? Are you excited for Levi?
I saw a bit of him on grand final day. Like, he played a game really early when the stadium was pretty much empty. I saw a bit of him then, and he's very exciting. Yet another fucking piece of the puzzle. He's going to be massive for sure.
Yeah, it's really exciting knowing that we could go on to win the flag and then potentially snag up the theoretical number one pick. Obviously, he's not going to go number one because he'll be a father-son pick, but if we went to pick him up, I'm pretty confident he'd be number one. So that's very, very exciting when you're in the club that our position is at. But dude, it's a lot of fun. A lot of the people that like the scouts and stuff, they say he's better than Will, and that is terrifying to think of. So just think about it, man. Ashcroft, Fletcher, and Wilmot out of the middle. Like, that's
fucking hell, bro. That's the stuff.
That's the.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. Like, everything's exciting now, but we got that to look forward to as well.
Turn my air condition down after that. God damn.
Yeah. Pending we can retain everyone. That's how our future looks, man. But yeah, guys, we're gonna welcome Stu into the pod right now. So this is our chat with Stu from Flagmantle ahead of our game with Freo. And here we are, joined by Stu from the Flagmantle Podcast. Stu, thank you so much for joining us ahead of our blockbuster round one game this Sunday against the mighty Lions. How you feeling about it?
Well, thank you very much for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure, it's an honor, and I'm glad to be back on the scene a little bit. But, gee, I am unbelievably nervous about the Freo Lions game coming up. I saw how you guys played against the Blues, especially in the first half, and I'm just going to say we're not going to be able to compete with that. If you guys play like that, there's no chance for us.
We'll see how it goes, man. It's going to be a nervous afternoon at Optus Stadium, I think. But getting back to the basics though, how did you become a fan of the club?
Yeah, so me and my family moved here from Scotland when I was about 4 or 5 in 2007 or 8. And we were always told, oh, footy's such a great thing. Go see some footy, go watch some footy. And being in WA, there's only 2 teams you can go and watch. And we tried to get tickets to West Coast, who were really, really good at the time, and they were all sold out. But it was impossible to get our hands on any tickets. So the only option we had was to go see a Fremantle game. And from then, it was just, I've been stuck in misery for 12 years now. So, yeah.
It's one of those things though, like you get to, like if Freo ever win a flag or anything like that, you get to own that. You've been there since, the start. I remember like 10 years ago or whatever there was, like, I remember seeing so many like Eagles fans, almost jump ship when, Freo were up and about in the finals and all that sort of stuff, dude. But yeah, man, you didn't make that bad of a choice. I hope not.
We'll see.
We'll see. So obviously, yeah, how are you feeling about your Fremantle Dockers ahead of the 2024 season? Are you feeling optimistic by any stretch?
No, I'm normally an optimist, but Freo have led me to believe that we're going to be good for the past 5-6 seasons in the pre-seasons, playing well. Oh, Nat 5's back to his best, and this person's training the best he's ever trained. And I've stopped believing in all of this, and I'll like it when I see it. So if I can see it in front of me, I'll believe it. Until then, I'm going to be a pessimist because it happens every year. We're training the house down, and then we're the most boring team imaginable.
Yeah. I mean, footy do be like that, right? Like it's we were talking earlier, it's just such a roller coaster of a sport, you know, like you're led to believe one thing and then the season kicks off and it's like, oh yeah, here's reality again. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool that we all get to sort of, you know, have a period of hope and optimism, you know, during preseason and, you know, all that sort of stuff. I mean, I didn't catch how you guys played against West Coast. Like, what did you think of your preseason game? Did you go down?
No, I didn't go down, but I watched it on TV because I went to the Elimination Chamber when that was on. So I just went back and watched it the day after. So, yeah, look, there's some good things from that practice match, but I think the real problem was West Coast are really not going to be competitive once again. So it was hard to measure where we're going to be when we're playing West Coast. We've seen the amount of injuries. We've seen who's on the park. They're kids and veterans. It's not a coherent football team. So I think just right off the West Coast game, the one I'm really upset about was the one we had. It was last week. I forget who it was. I think it was Port Adelaide.
Port.
Yeah, I've tried to erase it from my memory already. It was putrid footy by the boys. It was so boring. It was so stale. We got ran over by a much faster, fitter. They looked more cohesive as well. They were very, I'm going to tap it out into space and someone's already going to be there. And Fremantle, no clue about that. We have no structure that holds up against pressure. So yeah, I'm a bit of a pessimist this year when it comes to what I've seen already.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
mate,
yeah, go on.
Sorry, let me jump in real quick.
Go in.
What do you think? What do you think Fremantle need to improve or introduce to take that next step? Because you have shown some good flashes in the past. 2022 was a great year for you guys. You did a number on Brisbane when we came down to Optus one week. You had a bit of a dip last year, but like, what do you think needs to happen to take the next step? Be it a game plan, personnel. I feel bad talking like this, but even a coach. What do you think is needed to be done? Like, you can't single one thing out. It's probably a combination of things, but is there anything that sticks out in your mind in terms of like what needs to happen to get you competitive again?
Yeah, of course. I think the main thing is going to be getting a run of games into the same core group of 15 to 20 players. So we've had probably 3 or 4 different core groups since we've started rebuilding in 2016. And it just becomes a problem when we start getting rid of players that are notching up to 100 games, 150 games. And we've seen that the past few years with Lobb, Logue, Akers, Tucker, Meek, Schultz, even more recently. And you guys will know this. It just takes time. It takes games played to get good at football, which is such an outlandish concept. The more football you play, the better you play. So I think the most important thing we need is going forward is consistency through our main group of players. Just playing every week, just building up connection with each other, because that's sort of what good teams are built on. No, it's the tap on, it's the run on. And that's the second thing. It's going to be speed. Our midfield, yeah, we've got names. We've got Sarong, Brayshaw, Darcy, Jackson, Hayden Young now, but it's slow. It's a slow midfield group. And when we played Port Adelaide, Butters, Rosie, Horne-Francis, they ran the ball out the midfield. We couldn't catch them. They were so fast. They broke away from traffic. And then they just had a paddock in front of them. And I think we just need speed in our midfield, because we've lacked it for some time now. Yeah,
man, you've got a good base there, you know. You got a good baseline like of players there, you know. A lot of people in the league hold guys like Sarong and Brayshaw, myself included. I can't speak up for you, Egg, but I'm sure you think they're pretty quality players too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just you got a really good baseline there, you know. And that's the sort of if I'm a Freo fan, that's sort of what I'd be disheartened by. Is you've got a really good core like good group of midfielders, quality players, all Australian potential. It's just sort of connecting the rest of those puzzle pieces together. And that's what sort of makes me nervous for Sunday. And even my dad the other night was saying that he's nervous going into this game on Sunday, because we originally, if you asked us on Thursday how we were feeling about, our round 1 game against Freo, it's like, oh yeah, whatever, like they'll fly over here and just sort of, do their thing and walk out winners. But I mean, we got to remember what happened, as Egg brought up, in 2022. We got manhandled pretty well. Our game was nowhere near up to scratch compared to what Fremantle's was in 2022, and as well as the game we had last year. 3-point win. And you guys were pretty much on top of us for most of the game. You got the stuff there. You just need to. I don't know.
It's hard when other teams steal all the cogs that make your engine work.
Yeah,
that's year after year after year. I know it's a huge talking point at the moment, and you can look at the list of players and go, "Oh, none of your top liners are gone." But these are the guys that make football clubs. The 10 through about 20 on your list, those are the guys that build really good teams. Every team has 5 or 6 Jets. Every team has them. It's the players that come after that. And we've been gutted of those players the past 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's just, we know how that feels with, like, we had the go home 5 about 10 years ago where we lost a few quality players and nobody wanted to play here. I know for you guys, it's more of a case of, I don't think it's necessarily a case of people don't want to be there. It's just, more money elsewhere, lifestyle stuff, family. I know Lob with his, his girlfriend and all that sort of stuff. That was a whole thing over here for a while. It's really fucking hard, but I mean, that's the business of footy. I don't I don't envy those in the role of, footy managers and people who've sort of got to deal with all that sort of behind the scenes stuff and trying to convince players to stay. That's a tough fucking business, man. Like, and again, we sympathize with how that feels, man. We had to go home 5. I mean, Egg, do you remember who it was who left us? I can't remember off the top of my head. I know, a recent player, I don't think he was part of the Go Home 5, but Sam Doherty was one of them. We had a lot of quality players who left. I
think Doherty was part of the Go Home 5, was he not?
Was he?
Was Elliot Yeo in that mix as well?
Yeah, Elliot Yeo definitely.
Doherty, Yeo, Carnesis, Longer, I think Jack Redden, I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jack Redden was. Yeah, I know that for sure. But we know how that feels, man. It's not fun, like, because you need that. I guess, like, as you said, the consistency in the group. If you're having constantly like a revolving door of players, you're never going to build that chemistry. It's a tough one.
Yeah, for sure. It's really tough.
Sorry to cut you off, mate. It was Elliot Yeo, Jared Pollock, Sam Doherty, Billy Longer, and Patrick Carnesis.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, shit.
Those last two, especially, some real showstoppers.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, it's look, man, it's a tough one, but like I'm sure, like, Fremantle, we live in a pretty attractive city. I mean, I don't know if you can speak for someone who lives over east. What did you think of Perth when you came here for the Chamber?
I liked it. It's pretty chill. Public transport's pretty good. Yeah, stadium's very nice. What else? I didn't get to see a heck of a lot of it because I was there for not that great amount of time, and I didn't plan it very well. Like, I literally planned the whole trip on a train ride into the city, like a 20-minute from where I live into Fortitude Valley. Like, I bought my flights, booked my hotel, told my mate I was coming. This one's a bit more planned. It's been in the works for a few more months, so we got some more stuff going on. We went up on this big, massive hill to have KFC, and you could, like, pass the airport and you could see, like, everything.
Yeah.
Perth is a very, very flat city. It's like a Minecraft world. Like, you can see literally all the way to the cranes in Fremantle. Excuse me. And it's but yeah, no, it's a clean city. It's a very nice city. If it was a bit closer, I'd definitely move there for sure.
Yeah, that's maybe the Freo. You need to start telling some of these Freo players, Stu. This is what Perth has to offer. So stick around, man. It's good lifestyle stuff.
Oh, I already sent a presentation over to Paddy Cripps in 2020, so don't worry. I've done my scouting. I've done all that. Perth is a pretty good place to live, especially for footballers, I'd say.
Yeah, I think maybe the travel sort of turns off a lot because I'm someone I'm terrified of flying. It's one of the main reasons I've never been to the Gabba. I've had many opportunities to come to the Gabba and make a trip to Brisbane with my dad. But I've just never tagged along because I just hate flying that much. And for the record, I've been around the world. I've flown to Melbourne and back hundreds of times, but I fucking can't stand flying. Like I've now not flown in 10 years. So I guess when I think of that, I mean, granted my fear of flying, it probably doesn't apply to a lot of players. But when I think of the prospect of having to get on a plane and do these, these 3-4 hour flights every single week for the most part, I can see that being a big reason as to why a lot of players don't want to stick around. But at the same time, West Coast didn't exactly have a lot of those same retention issues. Granted, they still do to a degree, but it's sort of like there's so many variables that go into being an AFL footballer that's playing for a WA team. That's why I try to respect the WA teams as much as I can, not only from just being here, but I got to remember a lot of the variables they put up with. Like, we've got the same issue up here at the Lions. We've got to travel all the time too, but it's not a 3, 4, 5 hour flight every time. A lot of the time it's an hour and a half down to Sydney or Melbourne. So I just sympathise with a lot of the players that have to sort of tough that out, and then they go on to do amazing things in their career. It's really commendable, and I think it's a variable that Freo and West Coast both deal with, and I think as well, it's a variable that the clubs have to be proud of, because they're still they're in the comp doing shit, doing bits, while dealing with a lot of those variables like being far away from everything. It's a tough one, dude. It's something I do feel like will. It's always going to affect the club. It's always affected us interstate clubs. Victorian clubs are always going to have that advantage over us. Which is why I'm always super impressed when the interstate team gets up on a Victorian club for one. Now, looking forward into this season though, is there any Fremantle Docker players you want us to have a look out for? Is there any Dockers that you think are going to just take the step up that isn't your usual Sarong, Brayshaw, Darcy?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few that I have in mind. The first one's probably the least expected one. I think Hayden Young moving into the midfield is going to be a monster this year. We already saw him dominate Port Adelaide's midfield. He was kicking goals. He was going back with a flight of the ball. I think he won numerous contested possessions. Like, he's a hard nut at the footy, and he's got all those traits that all the best midfielders have in the modern footy as well. He can mark overhead. He's a good runner. He finds the spots well. So I think Hayden Young is a good one to look out for. Another one is young Tom Emmett. Now, he's had a pretty interesting story. So he battled cancer growing up, and he's had to spend a few extra years in the underage systems and playing out in regional country towns and all these different things. And he's found his way to the AFL, and he debuted last year. I think he played 2 games and he kicked 3 or 4 goals out of it. He's a very, very crafty player. I liken him to a bit of a Chris Mayne type operator. He's a pure pressure forward that can hit the scoreboard. Like, he's pretty good overhead. But man, he's a beast when he's chasing around players. Like, you do not want to be standing in front of Tom Emmett. And the last one's a bit, he's coming off a knee injury, Brandon Walker. So I'm not sure how much he's going to bounce back from his ACL. I think it was an ACL. And because that's a tough injury. We all know that footballers don't come back the same after a bad knee. But Brandon Walker, just as his pace, his change of direction, and his ability to lock down. I think it was last year we were playing you guys up at the Gabba, and he had the Charlie Cameron assignment. Yep. And for the most part, I think Brandon Walker maybe didn't get the better of him, but he played a reasonable game as a pure lockdown defender. He didn't do anything offensively. He played his role purely on Charlie Cameron, and he got loose a few times, kicked a few goals. But for the most part, I'd say Brandon Walker held his own in that matchup. So those are my 3 to watch. It's Hayden Young, Tom Emmett, and Brandon Walker when he gets back from injury.
Hell yeah, brother. I'll keep an eye on those for sure, because it's like there's a bright future down there, man. There's something brewing, and we just need to just connect the rest of the dots along the way. And I think Freo will be sort of on their way back to that 2022 form. I mean, you haven't lost too much personnel from that time, right?
Not really. It's more a depth that we've lost. So if we get hit with the injury bug, we're done for. Because we've, the back end of our list is all youth now. It's all 20 to 23-year-olds that have limited AFL experience, haven't been in the gym as much as everyone else, and haven't got the reps. So, yeah, I think if we get bitten with the injury bug, we're in for a pretty poor season.
Yeah, do you sense there's any chance you guys are going to be playing finals this year at all?
Yeah, look, if we give our best every week and we limit the amount of injuries we've got, our team is good enough to make the 8, and that's been the same. last year, it was the same thing last year. It was just the injury bug. It was players out of form. It was that sort of thing. 2022 is our benchmark. So if we can get back to that, playing that way every single week, playing Freo footy, which was fast, it was exciting, we caused turnovers, we played front half pressure. If we can get back to the fundamentals that make a finals football team, no doubt we can make the finals in 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I hope to see it just to, you know, I enjoy seeing sort of Freo up and about because it's always something so fresh and different, and it sort of brings our city alive. Our city has been since COVID's happened and West Coast has fallen off, and obviously Freo in the past year as well, like it's been so like depressing in a way, you know what I mean? Like footy is usually so celebrated here, and don't get me wrong, it's still celebrated, of course. Like I can probably all but guarantee Optus Stadium is going to be close to a sellout. And I said to Egg last week, and I think I said it on the show as well, I just said, look, Freo fans, regardless of where they are on the ladder, they show up and show out every single time at Optus. Like, you as a fan, Stu, when you're at a game at Optus Stadium, particularly in the past year, like what's the vibe sort of been when you compare the 2022 vibes? Because obviously the vibes were immaculate back then, especially like for that Bulldogs final. How was that sort of compared to how it was last year?
Yeah, so I don't think a whole lot has changed from the fans' perspective, to be completely honest. We're still a young, up-and-coming, exciting team to watch, especially if you're a Fremantle fan, because we've been watching the development of these youngsters for 3, 4, 5, getting on 6 years now. And it's at the time of their careers where they start to pop a bit. And you can go, oh, I remember Andy's first game. That was at Optus Stadium. Oh, I remember Caleb Strong's first game. Like, that was up in the Gold Coast during COVID. And we've been able to see the progression of these guys, and by making it not this club that's built its fan base on success, it's a club that's built its fan base on hope.
Yeah.
Fremantle have never won anything ever, and all we can sell to ourselves is the fact that it could be our time. This could be the one. And I think part of that is you never know when we're going to play well, so last year you could go into a match against a top 4 team and you go, oh, you know, we're still with a chance here. Even though we're going to lose most of the time, Fremantle always had a bit of a chance. If our players popped that game, we popped and we could play well. And our fans know that. Our fans show out more than any other fan base in the league. We have the highest attendance to membership ratio in the competition. So everyone who's a member goes. And there's a high percentage of people who aren't members that are Freo fans that go. So our fans are, I say they're loyal because I've been loyal and I've seen all the loyal ones. But I think our fans are really, really passionate and they get behind the boys as long as we're not, you know, spooning it like West Coast.
Yeah, I don't think any club at this point could probably sink too much lower than West Coast. Let's touch some wood there. But for sure, like the passion is like, it's always so strong, you know, like I've always like all my Freo fans, like just, not my Freo fans, my mates that are Freo fans, in my life, they still like talk like they're a top 4 team. Like they never lose that hope. They're always there for the banter. Like, you know, they don't just fucking, you know, abandon the club like a lot of, say West Coast fans have over the past couple of years. And I'm not just saying this because you're here and you're a Freo fan, but it's sort of just like I've noticed as well, the West Coast propaganda in WA, which by the way was fucking relentless for years and years and years and years. Like you could not get away from the West Coast Eagles when you're over here. That's gone now. Like I don't hear anything about that club.
Have you opened up the West Australian once in the past like 3 months?
This is a good point.
Is Harley Reid on every single back page? I think there's a statistic. It was like 1 in 3 sports back pages since his draft have been Harley Reid. The West Australian, like a WA newspaper, not a football newspaper, not a sports Instagram account. The West Australian, it's ridiculous. Like they still get all the love. Don't worry about that. They're getting everything they pay for from the media.
This is true, and that poor kid, man. Like, there's so much fucking pressure, dude. Like, if I was 18 years old and I just moved over, you know, across the country, and I've got like the media just hounding me like this, that's fucking terrifying. You've got to play to the best of your ability, otherwise you're gonna have like all the Bogan West Coast fans coming at you with fucking pitchforks and hay bales and all this sort of shit. It's God, it's hard, but yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I can see that. I mean, I don't read all that much about the West Australian. Me being a Brisbane Lions supporter, man, like I ignore WA footy a lot. But But I guess it's just like, I don't hear their fans like yapping anymore. I don't see them, talking much. Like I've got a few mates that are really excited for Harley Reid, which rightfully so, is a fantastic talent. But I guess it's a case of like, the Freo fans are always sort of relatively being consistent regardless of their position on the ladder. The coverage is still there. The friends that I have that are Freo supporters, they're still getting amongst the footy talk, man. Like they always just have that hope. And I commend you guys for it, because fuck me, when we were down bad from 2013, or more realistically 2010 through to 2019, I was so just disconnected, man. Like I still followed the club. I'd watch games if they were on TV and stuff like that, and I'm near a TV or whatever, but it was just so like, I was so disconnected from footy for such a long time. And I guess I just admire the fact that so many people in your fan base can stick fat through it. You know what I mean? Like you said 2016 was when the rebuild started. That's 8 years now, man. That's 8 fucking years.
Yeah, we weren't expecting that rebuild either. We won the minor premiership the year before. So, and then we finished like 4th last or something ridiculous like that. We've been through stuff, man.
Yeah.
We've been through so much.
But you're still here. So that's the thing, man. Like you're all still there. Like you're doing your podcast about, the Freo Dockers. You're going to be talking about them every week, which is when you ask some fans who are fans of other clubs, they're probably going to say it's not easy. You might even say it's not easy, but I think at the end of the day, if you've got the passion and the love, it's fun no matter where you are on the ladder, because you're always going to hold that hope out. I mean, 2018, we only won, 3 games for the season? But from memory, that was one of the more fun seasons I ever watched, because you could see we were having cracks at these oppositions that were much better than us, but we were still falling short. And it was just the hope and seeing how close can we get this week? Is anyone going to potentially like show a spark here? And we got so much of that season. We didn't win many games, but fuck, that was a fun season. Like that was probably around the time I jumped back on, was when Luke Hodge made the jump over, was when I tuned back in a little bit. And just those games that season was a lot of fun. Like you can still have fun with our sport no matter where you are on the ladder. It just comes down to your perspective and how you're going to consume it. Obviously, it's still not fun being smacked by 200. But there's games out there when it could be an upset. How close we're going to get this week, as I said, like it's still exciting, man. You still got some excitement to enjoy. Now, if you could make a trade with the Lions for any of our players, who are you trading and who are you giving us?
Outside of bringing Lachie Neale home, I would. Gee, if there's a perfect Lions player to join the Fremantle Football Club, I think it would be Zach Bailey. He's that perfect combination of power and athleticism. He's such a good runner up forward. He's a great pressure player. He plays to the midfield and he just breaks out of packs. Like his 0 to 60 or whatever he can get up to is phenomenal. His first step is unbelievable. He's super shifty. He's smart with the ball. He's a fantastic kick. I think Zach Bailey is probably the type of player Freo are crying out for most, is that hybrid forward mid that can just destroy a game with 10 possessions. Yeah.
How do you feel about that one, Egg? You back that in?
I do as well. I would not like to see that happen, obviously, but like he would fit in well in Fremantle's system for sure. He could fit in anywhere. Like, he's that fucking talented.
Yeah, for sure. He's a great talent, man. Like very, very happy to have big Zach Bailey, and I hope for our sake he doesn't go to the Dockers, but I hope for your sake maybe someday.
No chance, mate. No chance.
He's an absolute gun, mate. Of course, before I let you go, Stu, plug yourself. Where can we all find you?
Yeah, so I'll be back on Spotify within the next week or so at the Flagmantle Podcast. Find me on Instagram as well at the Flagmantle Podcast. I'm setting up a few other things, TikTok, Facebook, all that sort of stuff, but that's coming sooner. I'll plug that when I get to plug that. But yeah, just stay on the lookout for the Flagmantle Podcast all over socials in the coming weeks. I'll be talking everything about Freo. So if you're a Freo fan or your team's playing Freo, I will tell you if you're going to win or not. So
there you go. He's going to have the inside scoop for you all there. Yeah, that's just about it, man. Obviously a super exciting game on Sunday. Super nervous for it as well, especially after what happened on Friday night. It's a big flight over for our boys. So look, as nervous as you are going to be, have a bit of optimism for this one, because this is going to be a real interesting matchup. We're coming off a tough loss we're banged up a little bit here with no Kitty Coleman. And hey, you guys are going to be coming off a lot of rest. And hopefully, there's probably a fire in their gut as well. It's been a long off season. And obviously when you compare 2022 and how that ended to how last year ended, I can all but guarantee that your boys are going to be pretty fucking hungry this year, man. So definitely be excited for Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be a good one. Egg, how are you feeling about Sunday, mate? I know you probably mentioned it earlier, but how are you feeling?
I feel okay. I feel like we'll put in a decent enough effort. I'm not 100% confident about a win.
Yeah.
But I feel like we'll be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a good arvo out. I know all of us will be there, so maybe we can all meet up, go to the campfield, have a beer before it or after, depending on the result. I don't know. We'll see how all that pans out. But thank you for joining us, Stu. This has been awesome.
No, thank you guys.
And thank you for Stu for joining us on the, I'm about to say the Flagmantle Podcast. We're not the Flagmantle Podcast. We're the main event. Thank you for Stu for joining us from Flagmantle. Go check his stuff out at Flagmantle Podcast. Big game ahead this Sunday. But moving forward, man, just turning back to the weekend real quick. I want to give my flowers out to one player a week. I was considering doing this as a 3-2-1 vote, but let's just keep it simple to start off here now. The main eventer of the week. I'm going to give this to any player that sort of, is my big standout, whether that is statistically or what I see on the field. And this week, my main eventer of the week is going to be big dog Dane Zorko, man. I didn't realize he was still like that at his age. He was absolutely instrumental on the weekend.
He was, yeah. You definitely noticed him, and you definitely he made it. His presence is so valuable to us. I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he's still playing at such an elite level this at this age. But by God, it's something to marvel at, man.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. It's insane. I thought he was going to end up, sort of regressing this season. Like he sort of, I don't want to say he's been on a trend because when he's on, and he sort of looks like, young Zork. But yeah, dude, this season, that game was probably one of the better games I've seen him play over the past 5 years, which is massive because he's played some fucking good games. If I was to bring up his stats, which I did have up a second ago, I don't like to harp on about stats too much on this show. I like this to sort of be more of a, entertainment. We're just, just shooting the shit. I don't want us to be, fucking breaking down everything and doing a full on, in the lab on Fox Footy type shit. But man, if I just spell out his stats here, if I can bloody get them up, Zork finished with 2 goals here. He had 19 disposals, 12 kicks, 105 fantasy points for anyone that fucking cares. Dude, a hell of a game from Zork, man. I'm excited to see what he dishes out for the rest of the season. I just hope he can stay healthy and, eventually go on to win a flag for him this season, hopefully. Touch wood.
Absolutely.
Who have you got for the main eventer of the week for you?
So for me, I had Froggy Lester, Ryan Lester. I thought another one who, despite his age, he's still holding, still stuck fat to our best 22. Like he just has a lot of tenacity. He has a lot of you can tell watching him he's desperate to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when other people aren't showing the leadership that we need them to show and being selfish and stuff, you don't see that in Froggy. He didn't lose it. I don't think did he even lose a single one-on-one the entire game?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head. He was really consistent throughout the entire game from what I noticed.
Exactly, yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just, he can be, he's been playing with the footy club for a long time and he's starting to become a very, very good footballer for us. And it's going to be really, really hard to get him out of the best 22 for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And you'd love to see it for a guy like Froggy Lester as well. This is a guy who I assumed even just a year ago had sort of just, accepted that his AFL career was over and he was probably going to be a VFL mainstay for this point, just mentoring the younger players and sort of, the guys who are about to come into the side. And no. Fagan had different plans for big Froggy Lester, man. And he has absolutely grabbed that opportunity, by the balls and is just... He's absolutely killing it, man. And I really hope, that's another player as well. I hope if we can get it done this season, we're doing it for guys like Froggy Lester. We're doing it for guys like Zork. And God, I wish we could have done it for Rich last year, but fuck, I throw him still in the mix, like all of this, where we're at now doesn't happen without Dan Rich. He has retired, yeah, but we've got to remember how important he was to the club for many, many, many years. And, guys like Zorc and Lester, they'll know exactly how much he's meant to the club, and even, the period where they were coming into the club. So, yeah, dude, absolutely inspirational performance by both Zorc and Lester. And I hope we can see more of that this season, because, they're not even our standout players in our side anymore, man. Like, those are just sort of our just veterans. And they're our main eventers of the week on the first week, So once you get those guys on, and then you got guys like Huey and Lachie and Big Chief and fucking just, all the ones we've come to know and love to be absolutely elite. I didn't think I'd still be this excited for Lions footy after that loss, but here we are, man. I'm still excited. So, yeah, we'll probably just wrap that one up right there. I think that's it probably for the Carlton game, man. But I want to ask, though, what do you think is the future of opening round moving forward? I mean, a funny little tidbit here is all teams that won the toss in opening round lost their matches. Every single team, all 4 of them. And that's courtesy of AFL Central. Go follow them on Instagram. I'm sure you all do already. But yeah, that was a stat found by him. And just a crazy stat, but I just wanted to see your thoughts on opening round. That it's all wrapped up in the books. How do you feel about it?
It's a concept that shows a lot of potential for me. Somebody on Twitter posted that it might be you could expand it for sure. Like they brought up, let me get the guy's name. Actually, I don't want to steal his idea without credit.
Yeah. Yep.
Dylan Leach, he's with Ned's betting company. He brought up some good points. Like, it's good for us, it's good for New South Wales, it's good for Gold Coast. The idea is like a reverse gather round where like it basically let me see, he says call it round 1, have all 18 teams compete, and there are no games in Melbourne, Geelong, Adelaide and Perth. New South Wales and Queensland teams get the primetime games. Everywhere else can be in like games like Tassie, Canberra, Ballarat, Cairns, Darwin and stuff. And yeah, it becomes like a real interstate round.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, that's definitely compelling.
That's a good suggestion there as well. Like, even they don't even have to do that for opening round either. Like, that could be like a total thing any time of the year, like doing sort of a more suburban round, I guess you could say, like going to more of the towns and, not just the typical, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, fucking, all that sort of stuff. Like, it'd be something a bit different. It'd be something for the locals as well to get around. I think it would really help with pushing the AFL, particularly in, those smaller Brisbane and New South Wales markets that might only know NRL. The opportunity for them to see, live Aussie Rules footy is, it's great for the code and great for the league, man. So, definitely something I'd be open to, because I don't know, like I was all for opening round, a few days ago, and I still am to a degree, but I just wish that every team played this weekend, It was kind of weird. You've only got 8 teams in the comp playing, and like, look how incomplete the ladder is, for fuck's sake. Like, it's just so weird. I don't know. It might take some time to get used to. Right. Yeah, like it's a strange one. That's the ladder we got to look at until Thursday or something like that. But yeah, dude, it was a interesting experiment for sure. I don't know if I'm for it, and fuck, someone said this on a comment on the Sam Doherty post, and it was just like, if there was no opening round, then we wouldn't have had Kitty Coleman and Sam Doherty go down. I'm like, don't say that. Fuck. Just shit like that, man. But I don't know how it goes. I don't know if the future of it will continue, given the intention that the new CEO, is his name Andrew Dillon, had against with doing this whole thing, the reasons being the NRL's out of town and everything like that. So maybe it'll depend on if the NRL decides to go back to Vegas or wherever else for the start of their season next year. We'll see how it goes. I'm just hoping for better execution next time. I feel like it's important that all 18 teams play. With that being said, before we do wrap up here, though, we've got one more thing I just wanted to point out here. I know you're going to get a bit of a kick out of this one. So Big Ant, our best mates at Big Ant Studios, have released a roadmap for AFL 23. wow. Okay, so I'll read this one out. So on the 19th of March, which is a week and 2 days or whatever, gameplay and season fixture update, including photogrammetry of players attending the draft at Marvel Stadium. Okay, that's whatever. 23rd of April, new draftee players added, further gameplay improvements. I don't know what the improvements are going to entail, but we see. 31st of July has the AFLW update, including new draftees and season fixture. Okay, fair enough. Now, the big one here is on the 28th of March is Pro Team. Now,
28th of May.
Yeah, 28th of May. Fuck. I got no faith that this happens, but you've done a bit of research on Big Ant recently. You've done a whole video about AFL 23. Of course, go check out his YouTube channel at Egg Footy to go catch that one. Mate, what do you make of this roadmap? I know you've got some, given your recent work, you might have some thoughts here.
I'm honestly shocked they haven't blocked me on Twitter, so I'm able to view it myself. It's promising, you know. Like I still want AFL 23 to succeed, you know. Like it's not like I want these people to crash and burn so I can dance on their grave, you know. Like I'm a nerd. I like video games. I also like AFL. You know, it's a match made in heaven sometimes. And it's been disappointing so far. Let me look at right now the on PC right now, PlayStation numbers and Xbox numbers aren't public.
Yeah.
But there has been at its peak, there was 254 people playing on PC. Right now, there's about 20.
Holy fuck!
There was stages when it had 0 people playing.
That is ridiculous.
During the off season. Jesus. Yep. So it's been a bit of a fall off, but you know, who knows? Maybe they recover. And like I said in my video, if they somehow salvage this, I'll make a video congratulating them on that fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see them succeed as well, because I love video games. I love footy, just like you. And I guess it's just we've never really had a proper good footy game, like fleshed out, proper, like fun footy game. I'm not expecting AAA quality. I'm just expecting a playable game. And I was one of the biggest defenders of Big Ant Studio in AFL 23 this time last year. I was one of the biggest defenders, man. Like I must have wasted months on big footy trying to convince everyone, no, it's not that bad. They'll come good. And I guess just, I guess that's what frustrates me a little bit, is I spent just, not just the fact as well that they made the game look so good near launch, but I guess just the fact I've wasted so much time, like, you know, defending them and everything like that, and just coping. I was coping to the night.
I was the same, man. I was the exact same.
Yeah, it's just, I guess I didn't expect Big Ant to sort of abandon the game at that point, and I'm really happy to see them sort of, you know, have an interest back in it again and look to pick it back up and actually do some work on it. There's a base there. There still really is a base there, and I guess it's just depends on how they work with it, how much resources they're actually going to put into it. If I'm Big Ant, that's probably going to be my number one priority moving forward. You know, they've got the cricket game out, which, you know, does okay. They've got the tennis game, I think, coming out soon. I can't comment on it. I haven't seen anything about it or watched anything or played a tennis game from them. I guess like this is sort of the biggest thing they need to fix moving forward is, you know, AFL 23. A bit of damage control may be required, but I am glad that they're looking back into it for sure. I will be giving it another chance once these updates drop too. Of course, unfortunately, I'm never going to abandon the game because, you know, I love Aussie rules. It's the greatest sport in the world, and when you put that into a video game, which is the other thing that I love, you know, being ignorant's not going to help me, and who knows, I may miss out on a really cool footy game if I was to be ignorant about it. So I'm going to give it a chance, and maybe it's something we can talk about when they start releasing these updates as well and do a little review on it or whatever the case is. But yeah, dude, like that was a surprising post to see from them. Really surprising.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man.
Like, I thought they were just going to abandon it at one stage, but yeah, they've just come back from the dead, and here they are.
Yeah, man, it's exciting. It's exciting stuff, but at the same time, I'm not going to get my hopes up at all. I'm just going to expect the worst and hope for the best. But yeah, man, that just about wraps us up for this week. So yeah, guys, check us out on our socials at the Main Event Pod. Follow me on Instagram at Jack Wallace, at Wallace with a V in the name. And of course, Egg Footy. If you're not already subscribed to him on YouTube, go do that. Follow his Instagram, eggfooty_YT, and all of that. Of course, just, yeah, you can keep up to date with us at Main Event Pod on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you like following people on socials. Maybe not Facebook, because we haven't really used the Facebook page, but TikTok is still there, so go follow us on TikTok. Until then, guys, that's another episode of The Main Event. We'll see you all next week, talking all things Fremantle Dockers and then some. We'll see you all then. Cheers for tuning in.